Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. In my Phase 3 review, I talked at length about the evolution of the PvP meta in Alterac Valley, how it had gone from Alliance to Horde favour over time, and you can check out the video in the description for more information on it. I did mention that I'd recently done Honour to Exalted on my Paladin, and had a positive win rate for the games that I played. Now, when Alterac Valley first came out, I got Exalted on my lock on day 2, and that involved a decent bit of grinding, nothing too heavy. One of the reasons I did it is because how fast and easy every game was to win as Alliance. Horde just were not competing on the same level. The very next day I got to Honoured on my Paladin, and I thought I'd need to end up pushing Exalted 2 for the gear rewards, but I never got round to it. And when I came back to Alterac Valley, it was in a really bad state for the Alliance. People were still trying to push Galvanger at the start, just stopping and defending Stonehearth Graveyard endlessly, never getting past the halfway point of the Field of Strife. Sometimes you were just lucky and a token force went and farmed some honour, but it just felt like a waste of time queuing up, so I left it there. And also throughout this video I'm going to be referencing quite a few different areas in Alterac Valley. I'm going to link a map below so you can have sort of a reference point if you're unsure about any of these areas. Recently I decided I'd give it another go, and to my surprise a meta had evolved on the Alliance side, which actually gets a decent amount of wins. I'm going to explain what I did and the rules I made for myself that I followed, and at the end of the day I am one person out of 40, but having as few as 10 people doing the right thing can lead to a win, as others will follow the example. Note that when I did this, I did it purely for reputation gains. It may actually be decent honor-wise, I'm not entirely sure, I've never been really up for the ranking system. I'll show what I got over the past 2 weeks on screen though, and just so you know, I played for a few hours every day. It's probably for around 10 days or so. Winning is great for reputation, it's around 350 baseline, plus extras from all the objectives completed, and 3 marks of honour that can be turned in for a further 100 reputation. So now let's get into it. First of all, get the Alterac Valley consumables as soon as you are able to. Get a banner at Revered too, it boosts your group's damage as well as your own. Having an epic mount of course helps a lot. It's not necessary, but you may get left behind more often than not in the first push, which we'll talk about later. So let's have a quick look at how you should be playing your class now. If you're a healer, equip full PvE gear. Losing bonus healing or mana isn't worth it to gain defensive stats. If you position correctly, you aren't really going to get focused a huge amount. Range classes go full PvE also. Mages are the exception here. If you feel confident blinking in and AoEing, since you'll want to stack at least a bit of stamina so you don't just get deleted. Warriors should have a shield, especially at lower gear levels, and be aware that you have 3 abilities that can taunt enemies. You boys are the front line and need to go in and have faith in the heals. Don't just stand there taking damage for no reason. Damage over time effects are often a waste of mana, as they're just very easily healed or dispelled. Warlocks really only need 3 spells: Shadow Bolt on enemies, big crits cause reactions in terms of inefficient heals or cooldowns, Curse of Tongues on enemy healers. If you see someone actively dispelling it non-stop, it might not be worth it, and just going back to Shadow Bolting, and using Curse of Recklessness on enemy elites as long as you've got a decent number of healers about. Rogues are for backcapping objectives, taking out reinforcements, defending, or picking off healers. Don't join the big battles, you aren't a warrior. Hunters spam Viper Sting on anything with their mana bar. And what I'm going to say next is going to mega trigger some people, but we're trying to win and get exalted and be done. Remember that. If your class can heal, you should be a healer. Why? Well, let me put it like this. Act like your mana bar is money and the people you are healing are investments. When you heal someone, you want them to be able to continue acting or moving forwards. A Field Marshal Warrior with Bone Reaver's Edge is like investing your mana into Bitcoin in late 2017. A Retribution Paladin with Ice Barb Spear is like Bitcoin in late 2018. I'm not even trying to be toxic here. Certain classes are more worth healing than others, and even if you're crazy geared on that class, me healing you is allowing you to then spend your mana on dealing damage, and Feral or Retribution Pally mana, for example, isn't a great return on my investment. Also, you are going to go out of mana and cause me to go out of mana, compared to a warrior where the tables are suddenly flipped as they have an infinite resource in rage, and even at lower gear levels deal more damage on top of potentially having Mortal Strike. See a guy with Thunder Fury? That's worth healing. Good PvP rank? That's worth healing. Mage blinking into AoE? That's worth healing. You can often have 15 people in front of you, and you may not initially see it, but a mana battle is going on for the healers on both sides of the battlefield. Make the correct choice with your heals, and I'm not saying don't just heal people because you think their specialization's bad. Let's not get silly here, that is not what I'm saying at all. Of course, if someone's going to die, it's worth throwing them a heal, right? Warriors are potentially even more worth healing than other healers. They just really don't have defensive options or the ability to peel for themselves once they're in there. And if you lose the front line, the enemies will start pushing in and the fight just might be over. So with all that said, let's talk tactics. Now, the most important thing you need to know as Alliance is how to recognise a game that is likely going to be lost as soon as possible. Just playing through every single Alterac Valley is the best way to have the worst experience with it. Alliance have near instant queues still. If you aren't taking advantage of that, you're doing something very wrong. /AFKing out of games is part of this, so of course having something to do during the 15-minute downtime is also necessary, so I'll let you figure that one out for yourselves. Personally, I did a run of Diamol East on my Warlock and then came back to it again. So we'll be talking more about how to recognise a lost game soon. Upon joining a game, there are generally 4 scenarios that you come across. Scenario 1, Alliance has capped Frostwolf Graveyard or has Hut cap. Horde don't have Stormpike Graveyard or Aid Station. Somebody has probably left due to being reported out for AFKing. This is a great game to join and will probably be a win. Horde may be in turtle mode or just slow at advancing north. Go and defend and collect your free marks. Scenario 2, Horde have Aid Station, Alliance don't have Hut. Pretty much the opposite of the previous scenario. This is probably going to be a loss, but it's not worth leaving. It shouldn't be more than 5 to 10 minutes. It doesn't really matter what you do in this game, you're probably just going to lose. Collect 1 mark for the loss really. Scenario 3, Alliance all appear to be at Stonehearth Graveyard. Check the timer in the game. If it's over 15 minutes and the Alliance are still at Stonehearth Graveyard, instantly AFK out of that game. If no one's taken the initiative to move beyond this point yet, the game is over and will be a 1 hour plus Horde on a grind session. Scenario 4, new game. If you're a leader, make everyone assist. If someone starts making calls in raid warning, follow what they do. Doesn't matter if you don't agree or what they do is bad or doesn't make sense to you, just do it. If you aren't prepared to lead, you should be prepared to follow. Now, generally speaking, there is either going left or right once we get to Stonehearth Graveyard or Belinda. Never go right. Never go Galvanga. Yes, it's bonus reputation if you get the first kill. No, it's not worth the risk. It is very, very easy for the Horde to defend this point. The Alliance have to pass through several choke points. First of all on the side of Belinda, then up the small pathway to the right and below Snowfall, and then up the hill to Galvanga himself, and then past Iceblood Tower, which locks you in combat and makes you constantly take damage. It's bad upon bad upon bad upon bad. Don't do it. Going left past Stonehearth Bunker means if the Horde wants to take an early fight, it can be done within range of the bunker, which actually adds a very good amount of damage to your side. Also, it's in an open field, not a choke. That's a win-win. Now, in terms of getting to this point, you must group up and wait for a good amount of people before moving out. Alliance and EU have this meta of hiding, but it's not really hiding anymore. The Horde know what we're going to do. It's more just waiting for people to get down. Sometimes the 100% mount group will wait for the 60%ers, sometimes they don't. If they don't, go defend Stonehearth Graveyard. Ideally, you don't really want more than about 10 people on Stonehearth. This is likely the big first focus for the Horde to take. We don't need to hold this graveyard for too long. The Alliance's main objective in the first push is to cap and take Iceblood Graveyard. You must take Iceblood Graveyard. Don't run past the Horde and try and rush there. This is a massive mistake. Any Horde that die will be sent to IBGY. Only engage Horde that are trying to slow you. Do not chase them across the field of strife. You don't actually want too many Horde to die, since it's just reinforcing Iceblood. If people split and too many die and you're sent back to Stonehearth, regroup and go again. Generally speaking, if you play together, this won't really happen. If you, as well as everyone else pushing, lose Stonehearth and are sent back to Stormpike Graveyard before you can make it to Iceblood, game's over, time to /AFK out. This usually happens within 5 minutes. Why leave this game? It's too hard to re-push through the hill on Icewing Bunker, and all of the Alliance have been sent back and will probably start turtling. The game's going to turn to 1 hour plus a Horde on a farm session. If you do make it to IBGY and cap, you must hold it until it's taken. If Horde recap IBGY, they will have a huge number of people wanting to defend and it will be a Horde turtle AFK out of this game. If anyone dies when you're waiting to cap, make sure they're resurrected at Iceblood. Now, if you do manage to cap Iceblood, encourage players to ghost run down there. If there have been very few Horde defending during the cap, you can look at starting getting the nearby towers and lieutenants. What happens next varies from game to game. If there are many Horde defending, you need to slow push and cap Frostwolf Graveyard before going for the hut at the end. If there are very few, you can pretty much skip Frostwolf, leave a few people behind there and then run straight onto the hut. You need to match or outpace the Horde in their efforts to win and have objectives that mirror what they have capped as well. Do they have Stormpike Graveyard? You should have Frostwolf Graveyard. Have they capped Dumbledore Bunkers? You should have Frostwolf Towers capped. Do they have Aid Station? You should have Frostwolf Hut. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's at this point that everyone in the game should either be defending or at or beyond Iceblood Graveyard. This is where you need to start calling people out and dropping reports to get people who aren't doing anything useful out of your game. Taking out all the archers at Frostwolf's tower is a real priority. They will lock people in combat and have a massive aggro radius. This will allow your mana users to drink. Once you do cap hut, keep at least 2 people on the flag all the time. A recap from a single rogue zapping someone is very costly time-wise. Make sure you have frost traps down at the recall point. Have rogues sitting on the ramp going up to Drekthar, ready to stun anybody who runs in. You want as few people as possible to get inside to defend. Either once you've capped hut or you just have a good number of players south, you can look at starting to pull the War Masters. Encourage tanks to mark themselves and mark the target that they will be tanking. War Masters are simple. They have a cleave and a whirlwind that hit very hard. If you get more than one, it's fine, just split them up and DPS them down. You can actually outrange the whirlwind they cast if you're paying attention during that cast time. Make sure you use your disarms on them to reduce damage taken. Buff up the tanks. This is where the shield could come in for the warriors if you have a bit less gear. If you do pull the dogs out of Frostwolf Keep, don't loot them, they will respawn. Sometimes Horde will recap Frostwolf Graveyard and then run up to start defending. Have a few players slow them during the War Masters like Hunters or Mages. Honestly, it's not usually too much of an issue if they're quickly focused and delayed at the choke. Once all the War Masters are down or a call is made that the Horde have started Vandar, it's time to all in. You can easily off-tank one War Master without too much of an issue. Drekthar is just like the War Masters, disarm him to reduce damage, that's pretty much the entire fight. If you get down to Drekthar fast enough and there's pretty much no Horde defending, you can pull him super fast just to the right hand side. This will lead him to just come out by himself to near the entrance and then you can just slam banners down and take him out. That's what people used to do when we had 7-minute games, and it's still doable. It's just that usually the Horde have capped certain bunkers by then which have spawned War Masters which will chain pull with Drek, so people just generally don't really do this even when they have the option, but it's something to keep in mind. And that is it. That is how you win an Alterac Valley as Alliance. It requires communication to win. If no one says anything at the start of the game, chances are you're probably going to lose. Reinforcing a plan early on will get people on the same level, and even if only a few of you push up and cap things, others will eventually follow. Is all this counterable by Horde? Sure it is, but it also requires communication, and I'm not exactly spilling super secret strategies here. This stuff is pretty meta now, at least in Europe, and that is exactly what I did, and honestly it made Alterac Valley pretty fun again, which wasn't what I expected at all. I thought I was going to hate doing the whole process again, and I was very glad to be wrong. Anyways, you guys will have to let me know if this has been helpful at all, and I do wish you luck in the Valley. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. If you like what you see, give the video a like and subscribe as there's plenty more to come. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Take care. Bye.